Looks like they didn't eat all their patty, which, I mean, doesn't mean they're terrible bees, but probably means they don't have quite as much brood as some of the other hives. I don't actually remember how much I put in here because I didn't take a video that day since I'd already done a video on putting on pollen patties, so I really want to make another one. Maybe this next frame has brood, it's possible. They like to put the pollen on the outside of the brood, so I bet this next frame isn't brood yet though. So more pollen and nectar. This was one of my strongest colonies coming out of winter last year, but they're not my strongest this year. I think I gave them more than one patty, so they still eat a lot of patty. I thought there would be eggs on this frame, but there is not. So it looks like they probably have 3 frames of broodish. Not massive, but today my goal is for every hive, as best as I can, it's not going to be perfect, to get 3 or 4 frames of brood. That would be perfect. This hive has a pretty tiny queen. She's a little black queen. Very dark. And hopefully I'll be able to find her for you. I practiced my queen finding abilities last week in Memphis, or around the Memphis area. I probably found over 35 queens. I went through a lot of hives though. I didn't find her in every one, just a good amount. This is full of brood, larvae, eggs, capped brood. I got stung on the last hive, dang. Some really hurt and others don't. That one really hurt. So that's 2 frames of brood. Hopefully they have 4, but if 3 would still be pretty good. I believe this queen's marked, but maybe not. It's hard to remember. So I wouldn't want to graft from this queen because you see how runny these bees are? They were more now, or there were more a second ago, but I don't know. They're not my favorite. They're pretty good though. So that's 3 frames of brood. I don't know if there's any brood on this one. Of course, the one frame that I want to rotate out of this hive, the bees ended up on the side of the hive using the frame. Oh well. Super warped foundation. But this one has eggs. So that's 3.5 frames of brood. And I guess I missed the queen. No big deal, it's just I like to find her if I can. So this hive is probably just about perfect for this time of year. They will build up to be split right at the perfect time. So I'm excited to have hives like this. 3.5 frames of brood, and today's April 16th. So by May 15th, which is around the time I want to split, they should be filling out this entire box. As you become a more experienced beekeeper, you're able to figure out your dates, when you should be doing, when certain hives should have a certain amount of frames of brood. And so last year really started to give me feedback on what's what with how many frames of brood and when. So there's a lot of big frames of honey on this side of the box. So I'm just going to push this hive's cluster to the center to make sure they don't starve, because I want to make sure they have honey close to the brood nest if we get a cold snap. We're not supposed to have one, but I'd really rather not risk it. So this nice fat frame of honey, completely full, probably sugar water really, I'm gonna set in here, and maybe one more. Yeah, probably one's okay. So I will add pollen patty to this hive and they will be good to go. This was one of my new hives last year. It has a relatively good size. Here's some ants. They're always fun. No big deal, just hanging out up here where the bees can't patrol. And looks like, unfortunately, last time when I put on the inner cover, I didn't shake it off, so the bees got stuck up here. So I gave this hive a fair amount of patty and they ate, you know, a good amount of it, not all of it. I would guess they're right about where I want them, maybe 3 or 4 frames of brood. We'll see, maybe a little bit less. It's always hard to know. This hive doesn't have as much drawn comb as some of the others because it was a late season split last year. So here we are. You need that, that's some honey. Keeps the hive going. You need the sugars. And some of the patty. I should have marked down how much I gave them because how much patty a hive eats is a pretty good indication of how healthy they are. It's not a huge deal considering that I get to inspect, so I can actually look to see how many frames of brood they have. Tons of pollen. And what do you know, there's the queen. Right in the middle here. Looks like she's gonna start laying this frame up. Nice fat queen. She seems like she's walking around just fine. She's not a speed runner, which can be frustrating. Some beekeepers will know what I mean by that. Some queens are just real runny and they seem like they just want to sprint everywhere. This frame's full of brood and pollen. I'd maybe call it a half-ish frame because a lot of this side has pollen on it. But if you combine these two, because she's starting to lay on there, we'll just call that 1 frame of brood. Ideally, they have 3 to 4 frames. That gets them right to where I want them, so I can split them on time. This is a great hive. They weren't particularly big going into winter, but they're nice and strong this spring and very calm. Not much foraging going on right now, so most of the field bees are in the hive and they're still almost not moving on the frames at all. They're just very calm, not running on the comb. So I think that's 3 frames of brood. Yep. I guarantee you this will be 4. And there we are. Beautiful frame. Queen's doing a great job. I wouldn't consider this queen the one as one of my potential grafters, but maybe this inspection is changing my mind. Maybe she will be fit to graft from. So this is an important thing that newer beekeepers should learn, is when you see this pollen, it normally means the brood nest is over. I like to keep that pollen on the outside of the brood nest. In this specific case, there are a couple eggs on this side of the frame, but really the brood nest ends right where this pollen starts. So nothing wrong with this hive. They have some honey. They have 4 frames of brood-ish, maybe a little bit less, but very good. If I had more time, I would go ahead and mark this queen, but I'm running low on time today. So I have a good amount of pollen, but this is still could get cold any day now. So I will put pollen patty back on this hive. So here's some of their old one, and I'll probably give them another half patty just to be safe. So this is pretty much a perfect colony. It's exactly what you want this time of year, or for me. It's different everywhere you are, but I think this will be perfect. I'm trying to make my time as efficient as I can through these hives. So knowing how big I need them to be and at what time is going to save me a lot of time in the future. So I think this hive is below the swarm line, so they won't swarm before I want to make splits in mid-May. But I don't think they need any brood boosting to be big enough to split when I want to. So, could not be more pleased. This is exactly what I want to see.
Now that you've seen what I want my colonies to look like, you can see how I will be splitting them in a month's time. This video was so much fun to film. I got to inspect over 50 hives. Hope you enjoy it.